So I probably titled this video what I'm going to talk about, and that's why I believe in God. I have two parts to this video, and the first side is my personal experiences, and then the second part is going to be the more logical side of, you know, why we should believe. The reason why I'm doing two parts is because I think there's a lot of people that do struggle with the logical side of Christianity, and I know that there's a lot of people that also, they struggle with, more of the like, oh, well, I just haven't experienced him. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Without further ado, let's dive in. So I'd like to start off by a quote by A.W. Tozer, and he says, "For it is not mere words that nourish the soul, but God Himself. And unless and until hearers find God in a personal experience, they are not better for having heard the truth." And the reason why I bring that up is because that perfectly describes who I was. I grew up in the church, and I grew up in Idaho. We lived there until I was like around 6. And the reason why I'm going back this far is because this is all relevant. Yeah, so we lived there, went to that church. The church was great. I loved, honestly, I liked going to church. I had friends that went there and all that. But then we moved to Georgia, and that's where things got a little more tricky because that's where my pride got built up. And many people say, oh, well, pride's not a bad thing. It is, because it doesn't you can't grow when you're prideful. And then we moved again. The second move really humbled me because I was forced to make new friends, and I was really prideful of myself, and it was just not a good situation. So I ended up having a really tough time making friends when I moved here where I currently live, which I'm not going to say on YouTube because that would be scary. Or not scary, but that'd be creepy. I don't want people like rolling up to my house. But no, like, I struggled a lot, and there were nights that I cried out because I didn't have the friends that I wanted. I wanted to be popular. I wanted to hang out with the cool crowd, so to speak. Problem was, I just was not a nice person. So that's kind of hard making friends when you're not nice. So that's who I was. And that kind of continued. That loneliness and that emptiness continued all the way through high school. I tried finding my worth in my friends. I tried finding it in, I tried finding that worth in the hobbies, the sports, you know, basically anything. My hobbies, because I was really into like painting, and like, I was into a lot of stuff. All of these things never worked out for me, and and they all, every time that I, would try to seek my worth in these things, I was just left empty, and I was always chasing after more and more. It was never enough. Eventually, it was the summer of my sophomore year of high school. I was at that point, I stopped wanting to go to church. I didn't like church. I felt like my parents were just forcing me to, and it was just not a fun experience. Um, Now I would still go because I knew there's no way that, I wouldn't just be able to not go. It was that summer that my mom told me, "Oh, like, there's a summer camp. It's a Christian camp." And I was like, "I'm not going to that. Like, you know, I don't care about that. I would only go if I had friends that were going," is what I said. Well, sure enough, I got two friends that were going, and I was like, "Oh, well, I kind of have to go now. So, I guess I'm going." So I ended up going to that, because that was part of the deal, and it was there that I'd say like really, really changed my life. Whoa. What led up to that, I think, what really sparked my curiosity into Christianity in general was I was still holding to the principles of Christianity, but I'd still call myself a Christian even though I wasn't living how Christians are supposed to live. And eventually the friends that I was hanging out with, they ended up making fun of me for it. They're like, why are you, saying you're a Christian when it's like, you know, it's dumb. And that really set me on a path, because I realized, like, one, I don't want to hang out with these people, and two, I don't even know what I believe in. So it's like, if I don't believe in this Christianity thing, why even follow it? That led me into the summer camp, and it was there that, like, I kind of, like, I didn't know what to expect, honestly. Um, but I was seeking. That was the main thing. And if you're watching this, I believe that you are seeking. We have to figure out what this lifetime is about. And if we don't take time to even think about that, we've wasted our lifetime, honestly. And it was that summer that I was thinking about that. And I wouldn't say I was thinking about that on, like, a large scale, because that kind of sounds like, you know, very, very big, to think about, which it kind of is, but I mean, it is, but it was there in Knoxville, Tennessee. That's where the camp was. That's where God encountered me. I've never experienced anything like it before. Honestly, like, I just invited God in. Like, I just was like, God, if you're there, like, show me. Like, I honestly, like, I didn't expect much. Like, I still believed in a God, but I didn't know if it was the God. You know what I'm saying? It was there that I learned what God's love was, and He just like, flowed, like, over poured in, like, my life. Like, I saw it right there. And something that I learned when I was there is just what God's love looks like. God's love is unselfish, unconditional, and unstoppable. He's seeking you out. God gave up His Son for you. And I know that sounds like, oh, like, that's what every Christian says. But when you realize the pain that Jesus went through on the cross, you realize how much it cost Him. God's love isn't based on what you do. Because if that were the case, we're cooked. It says in James 2:10, it says, "For whoever keeps the whole law yet stumbles at just one point is guilty of breaking it all." Like, if you understand what that means, it's saying that if you even mess up at one point in, like, sin, like, whether it's lying, stealing, I don't know, cheating, hurt someone, or stole Toy Story 3 stickers from Best Buy, it's saying that we're not perfect. You're not going to be able to make it to heaven just by doing good works. Because in order to go to heaven, you have to be all good. That means perfect. And God changed my life just by His presence. It was a presence that I can't explain. I do believe that God is able and He's willing to do that in your life. You just have to invite Him in. You have to be open and honest with Him. It's okay to be mad at God. It's okay to be like, God, why didn't you show up? Why weren't you there? It's okay. But I do want to caution you, because this is where I fell down later in my walk with God, is don't base your faith off of feelings, off of just feeling that presence, which it's a good thing, because it's like, okay, like, this secures, okay, this is real. When you give your life to God and invite Him in, there is an enemy that will attack you. And oftentimes it's through your emotions, because those emotions can change drastically, like, every day. Like, you could feel angry at one moment and then feel, like, chill. So, like, they change. I've had some crazy spiritual experiences. Like, I mean, like, I've that's like a whole topic for another video. But it's taught me that, like, even when you're in that pain, in that suffering, God is still there. He's still there, and He still cares for you. It's because I based my faith off of feelings that I had to do some research of my own when I got low. I hit a low point and I was like, God, where are you? And this brings me to the logical side of this video. This brings me to the Dead Sea Scrolls, and you may have seen a video from me earlier. And I've had to do a lot of research on my own on these topics. In 1946, in the Judean desert, the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered in these caves. And what these scrolls had were, there is the Hebrew Bible, not like it wasn't like complete, but it was the majority of the Hebrew Bible, which is the Old Testament. And the reason why I bring these up is because these are important to, well, one, a lot of people say the Bible's been changed, or, it's not reliable. With these scrolls, they predate Jesus. When you look at these scrolls, are they accurate to what we have? Scholars found that these scrolls came back to around a 95 to 99% accuracy to what we have today. That means like how closely they match what we have today, which is pretty darn close. And that also means that these texts line up, like stories, and like they all line up. That's why we can know when we look at like prophecies about Jesus that they can be reliable, because they're in these scrolls. And so then what does that make of the New Testament? Well, there's over 5,000 Greek manuscripts that have been studied very closely by scholars. We can know it's reliable because it explicitly mentions historical events, historical figures of that time in detail. The New Testament's basically just eyewitness sources, and we can know that these people were real because there's sources outside of the Bible that mention these figures. For example, Jesus is mentioned in Josephus. That's a source outside of the Bible. And it's mentioned that Jesus had a following, did great signs and wonders, that people believed that he was the Messiah. A majority, like 99% of scholars, believe that Jesus was a real person. So then it's like you have to look at what did Jesus actually say and do. In the New Testament, those are records of that. This brings me to, well, who was Jesus really? And when we look in the New Testament, Jesus makes some really bold claims. You go to John 10:30, John 8:58, John 1:1. Jesus claims multiple times to be God, to be one with God, which is a pretty crazy thing to say if you're just a normal guy. That either means that you're one of three things: a liar, a lunatic, or you're actually the real deal. And we know he's not a liar because, he was crucified, beaten, insulted, went through the worst torture anyone could possibly go through. All of that for a lie. And that's the same with the disciples. They all went, to their deaths. And they all died terrible deaths too. Some of them were crucified. But they never stopped believing in Christianity. Well, was he a lunatic? Well, this dude had 12 people that close proximity with him. And not only that, but the people that, heard his teachings. When you look at the teachings in the Bible, the Sermon on the Mount is so incredible. That's like the philosophers of the time. That's like one sentence. That's a little much, but like if it was like just like one part of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount would be a philosopher's whole spiel for hours, which is insane. And all of that bundled in one sermon. That, I'm sorry, if you think that he was a lunatic, just look at what he says, the way he speaks. This dude had a comeback every time the Pharisees went after him. And another problem is they couldn't find Jesus' body. There were guards guarding his tomb, and they couldn't find his body. The guards didn't know what happened. And there's no sources that go against Christianity from that time, because there were eyewitness sources that could credit or discredit Christianity. There were 500 eyewitnesses that saw Jesus alive during that time. And on top of that, when we look at the prophecies that Jesus fulfilled, he fulfilled over 300 prophecies. And if you know anything about prophecies, that is a lot. We're talking about things that he couldn't even control. He was born in Bethlehem. Like, his birthplace was prophesied. There were so many other things that were prophesied that he couldn't control. That alone is like filling the state of Texas. Texas is huge. Filling the state of Texas, filling it with, quarters, like 3 feet deep, and then drawing an X on one of them, chucking it in, not knowing where it is, and pulling it out perfectly the first time. You know how hard that would be? That's impossible. And oftentimes, the reason for our unbelief is, honestly, we're afraid of giving something up, or we're prideful, meaning, I can do this on my own. We think that we can do this on our own. I'm here to tell you, you can't. In Christianity, it calls us to give up things that we don't want to. The selfish desires. I've tried doing it on my own. It never worked out. It never truly fulfills you. You're always going to be wanting more and more and more until there's nothing left. You'll always be chasing, whether it's money, fame, you name it, whatever that may be, working towards something for your life. That's what gives you purpose. But then you realize that after this lifetime, it all goes away. Sometimes people struggle with, they've been hurt by the church. I understand that. But people aren't a good representation of who God is. People aren't God. I'm sorry for the pain that you've been through. And I'm telling you, when you follow God, when you follow Christianity, it's worth it. I've had peace in my life that hasn't made sense. I've had joy that I can't explain. He changes your life because I'm sure many of you know about wars that are going on. You know that pain is in this world. But God, He's there for you. The world is sinful, but God, He's always going to be there for you, and He always is going to care for you. And I know it's not an easy decision, but it's worth it. So with this, ask God into your life. Admit that you can't do this life on your own, that you need Him. He will pour His love into your life, because I've seen that in mine. Because He cares for you. Why else would He send His Son to die for you? Dude, He loves you. If this is your first time ever hearing about God or anything like that, I just invite you to pray. Pray with me. Say, Lord, forgive me. I've messed up. I make mistakes all the time. And Lord, I thought I could do it on my own. But truth is, I can't, Lord. Lord, I need you. And Jesus, I believe that you're God, Lord. I want you to be my Savior, Lord. I invite you into my life. I thank you for what you did. I just ask that for the person on the other side of the screen, Lord, would you overflow with your love in their life, Lord? Lord, would you show them that you really do care for them and that you want a relationship with them. Lord, would you send people their way to know you and know your character, Lord? Lord, would you just give them this desire to seek you? Lord, we thank you for just a beautiful day today. You've blessed us with so much, this life that we have. We thank you and we praise you, Lord. Amen. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know. I really like this. It's so peaceful out this morning. God has blessed me with this. So yeah, God bless.